So today we're just going to go through some very basic concepts of lean management, and we're going to base it on a simple process of making a cup of coffee. We're going to base it on a company that is making coffee and selling it as a business. What we're going to do here is we're going to relate this to a simple process of making a cup of coffee. We're going to look at all the different types of variation, the process that's involved, the types of defects that can occur, and the types of waste. So when we're making a cup of coffee, there's various processes. We need to fill the cup, we need to get the cup, we need to boil a kettle, we need to find the water, we need to find sugar, we need to find milk, we need to have a spoon available. There's a whole load of variation in such a simple process. I mentioned briefly about coffee, what it is, what the variations could be. So we've got a kettle, we're going to make 5 cups, we're using water, we need sugar, we need milk, as well as the coffee. To give you an idea of variation that can alter the process and the end product, when it comes to water, the temperature of the water can have an impact on the flavour of the coffee. But other sort of things, the source of the water, so you've got hard or soft water, can also have a variation and make variation in the taste of the coffee and the end product. And another thing, as Columbo used to say, mug sizes. These are important. These can have the massive variation on the taste of the coffee, because the more volume of water you've got in there, it will dilute the coffee, the milk, the sugar, etc. We're going to move on to the kettle now, and the first part of this process is we need to fill the kettle, we then need to boil the kettle. So we're looking at roughly 20 seconds to get the kettle, take it to the tap, fill up with water, and then it's going to take 3 minutes to boil. Okay, so we've got our kettle, we've got our water, we're now going to fill the kettle. It's going to take us 20 seconds. We're then going to boil the kettle, which is going to take 3 minutes. While that kettle's boiling, we can then start getting the mugs ready, so we can get the coffee in the mugs, we can get the sugar in the mugs, and we can get the milk in the mugs. So that's another 20 seconds for each, so that's going to take another minute. So we're waiting for the kettle to boil. We've now got 2 minutes spare time. The countdown conundrum is this. The total time that we're taking here, we're taking 20 seconds in preparation, we're taking 3 minutes waiting for the kettle to boil. During that time, we can use a minute of that preparing, but that still leaves 2 minutes. And then after it's boiled, we're then using 10 seconds to pour the drink, and then we're using 10 seconds to stir the drink, which means out of a total time, a process time of 2 minutes and 20 seconds, or 220 seconds, should I say, not 2 minutes and 20 seconds, 3 minutes and 40 seconds, but 220 seconds in total. We're actually working for 120 of those 220 minutes, which means we've got 55% of the time is actual waste, or as the Japanese call it, muda. Okay then, so moving on to variation within the process. The main areas of variation, which is known as unevenness in the Japanese term, which is mura. The variation here could be mug size, it could be temperature of the water, the quantity of coffee that's been put in, it could be down to the quantity of sugar, quantity of milk, or even the actual quantity of water. Now, if you remember before, we were talking about a variation there, the type of water, whether it's hard or soft. We can actually rule this out here because it is in one place, therefore it is consistent. The next thing we're going to look at is bottlenecks and potential slowing of the process, waiting around another waste, or unevenness of the process. In this case, we're going to talk about mura, which is the Japanese term for unevenness. So what we've got here is we're going to wait for the kettle. That's time. We've already mentioned that we're waiting 55% of the time's wasted. And mainly it's why we're waiting for the kettle to boil. We're then going to spend time separating coffee, milk, sugar, sweetener, making sure the portions are right for everybody that's in there. Ergonomics. If we don't have things to hand, we're walking around the kitchen, we're walking around the area finding sugar, finding milk. We need to have everything together, so we've got the workplace is well organised, so everything's to your hand, it speeds up the process. And finally, which goes back to the beginning of the process, filling the kettle is not adding value, we're wasting time. So next we need to look at the costs of what's it costing us to manufacture and make these coffees for people. So here we've got the coffee, we've got about 12p a portion, cups, 2p each, sugar, 2p each, milk, roughly 3p, and then we've got energy in there, which is 5p. Now, these are all variables. This one is a fixed. So however long we're boiling the kettle for, that's how long it costs. Every 3 minutes of a kettle boiling, it costs 5p. So moving on from there, what other costs have we got? We've got a cost of wages. The average wage for a barista or a coffee maker in the United Kingdom, as in January 2024, is £11.57 per hour, which means that they're roughly on, well, they are on 19 pence per minute. So if we add together the costs here, it comes to 20p a cup. It's actually 19p, but if you add on the energy, it roughly works out 20 pence a cup. So therefore, to make 5 cups of coffee, it takes us 3 minutes 40 seconds. It's £1. If you add on the wages, it's £1.64. And then if you add that, divide that by 5, it means it's costing us 33 pence per cup. That's our total cost. So the next thing we need to think about is capacity. We need to remove unevenness from the process, and we need to make it as easy and straightforward as possible. Therefore, based on the figures we've got so far, we know we can make 5 cups every 3 minutes 40 seconds. So 3 minutes 40 seconds times 5 cups works out in an hour we can make 82 cups of coffee in an hour. At the moment, we're charging £2 a cup. Therefore, we can make £164 an hour in revenue. Okay then, so back on costs and on profitability and capacity, we now been able to work out at 33p a cup, we can make 82 cups per hour. Therefore, the cost at 33p a cup is £27.6 per hour. That's including wages and all your other sort of fixed variables. And the profit we're taking, or the money, sorry, we're taking in that is £164, which means every hour we're making £136.94. Obviously, there are other costs to take into consideration there. There's lighting, there's heating in the building, there's insurances and rent and so on. You get the gist. There's plenty of other expenses, but working from that figures that we've already got now, we know the cost per unit, we know the cost per hour, we know what profit we can make per hour. If we do that over a 6-hour day, typically it means that each day we can take a profit of £821.64. Okay then, so we've looked at our costs. We know that how much we're capable of making per hour. We know what our costs are. We know what our profit is. We also know that we've got 55% waste in that period, in that time during the day. So how can we improve that? Well, let's have a look at, again, I'm going to use some Japanese words here. Merger of 2 words in Japanese. Kaizen means continuous improvement. So, where can we get the biggest hit? First of all, the biggest hit has got to be reducing the waiting time. We've got staff standing around doing nothing, waiting for a kettle to boil. So how can we do that? We've got options there. We can get a hot water tap or an instant heater, or we could buy a barista machine. We could even maybe get a robot to make these as well. But you know, we're a friendly company, we're a sustainable business. We want to work with a local community. We've got social values, so we're not going to get a robot in to do that. We're going to pay people good money to do a decent job. The other sort of variation and improvement we could look at is maybe having automatic doses for milk, sugar. Have an automatic dispenser for them. That reduces time. We could also even potentially look at doing self-serve. You go into some coffee shops, you get your coffee, you can sort it out with your own milk, your own sugar, your own sweetener, etc. I could do with a cup of coffee right about now. Okay then, so we've looked at the cost, we've looked at the fixed cost, the variables, we've looked at the unevenness in the process, and we've looked at the improvements that we can make. And what we've come down is we've boiled that down to 2 potential improvements here. It's all about reducing that 55% waste or waiting around time. So there's 2 options. We can buy an instant heater at a cost of £350. That means then we can now up our process from 82 cups per hour. We can increase that by 45 cups per hour to 127 cups per hour, which means that we can then have a profit, or we can take that takings of £254 an hour. However, there's another option here. We could buy a barista machine. Now these aren't cheap. These come in at sort of £4,500, and some of your ingredients are going to be a little bit dearer now because we're working with ground coffee beans. But what we can do with that is we can charge a premium for it. So instead of charging £2 a cup, we can now charge £3.50 a cup quite easily, which, when I do the maths, I just need to think about this a moment. 127 by 350 is about £444.50. So, I don't know how long the payback time will be, but it'll be very quick. So from that you can glean quite easily a little bit of investment, can improve the process, but it can also means we can charge a premium and make a very hefty profit and good return on that as well as a better product for our customers. Okay then, so we've been through that exercise and we've shown how a simple process we can make it look complicated, but we can actually do the maths on that and we can work out how we can get a payback on a decent period of time and how we can improve the process as well. That is basically what lean management is all about. We've worked with hundreds of different companies. In fact, we've actually worked with a coffee making machine company, just in case you was thinking why we chose coffee. We've also worked with other companies that manufacture windows, companies that manufacture car parts, buses, companies that do website design, do software development. The lean principles can be cut across the board. They're not just about manufacturing. A little bit of history of lean. After the Second World War, a guy called Deming, he was involved in statistical process control. He was involved in looking at ways of breaking down barriers and working with management. And he identified a number of barriers to profitability and success and improvement. And some of them is culture in a business. Some of them are just basically what we've just been talking about, taking out the waste, taking out the additional time that's required, time when you're not doing anything, and about adding value rather than adding non-value added. Basically, Deming went over to Japan and he got involved in Japan in lean management, and that's where it was all born. You heard of a Toyota production model. That's basically lean management, and it's evolved ever since then, going back to the days of Frederick Taylor, time and motion, how we look at the way that we study work, making sure that we reduce defects, and that is all that lean management is about. What our program does is we come in with you, we speak to the management and we speak to the guys on the shop floor or doing the actual jobs, and we always say to them, what's your problem? And there's always, it's them and it's us, but eventually there's always a common theme that everybody agrees on. And what we do is we say, right, we'll look at our improvement project and we'll set it around that common theme. We've got the agreement now. Everybody agrees that we need to improve how we make a cup of coffee. So what we do then is we look at that, we get people working on it. We deliver a series of modules which tells them, it enables the guys on the course to work out about costings, about efficiency, effectiveness, but also about problem solving. Poki-yoki is another Japanese term, and that's about error proofing. So for instance, one of the best examples is an envelope with a window. Previously, people could write letters, they could send letters and put the wrong address on the envelope so the wrong person would get the letter. However, with the advent of a window in an envelope, it means now that all you need to do is you print the address once and it's automatically 100% going to go to the right place. Therefore, it cannot go wrong. And that is a very simple example of error proofing.